Hey folks, this is Kalani. With Season 4 of Dragonflight, we have a whole bunch of options for how to gear up. The higher the item level you can acquire, the more powerful your character is going to become, making content much easier and giving you a head start to the next expansion. But the real power spikes are going to come from getting your hands on some tier set gear. Both the 2 set and 4 set bonuses can be huge depending on your class and spec, and they can even completely change up your rotation and best talent choices. But getting tier gear isn't always straightforward, so we're going to go through all of the ways you can get your hands on this powerful gear and the fastest ways to complete your 4 set bonus. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. Now tier set bonuses are a bit different in Season 4 because they aren't really new. The community voted on which Dragonflight tier set appearance and bonus would return from Seasons 1 through 3, so we've seen all of these bonuses before, making it a little less exciting in my opinion, but they are still going to provide you with some big power spikes, especially when you take the big item level jumps into account. It's important to note that tier sets do not mix and match from seasons, so even if your tier set bonuses in Season 4 are the exact same as they were in Season 3, your Season 3 tier set does not count towards your Season 4 set bonuses. So you could have 3 pieces of Season 3 gear and 1 piece of Season 4 gear, and they could have the exact same 2 set and 4 set bonuses, but you won't actually get the Season 4 bonuses. So you will have to replace all of your gear to use the set bonuses with the higher Season 4 item levels. The most reliable source of tier set gear has to be the Revival Catalyst. We get to choose exactly what gear slot we get, and as long as you have the gear you need, there is no RNG involved. The only things you need to use the Revival Catalyst are a piece of appropriate Season 4 gear and a charge. The charges are super simple. We get 1 per week per character, so each of your characters has their own set of charges, and we're just going to get 1 per week throughout the season. You can only hold 9 charges at a time, but that's not really that restrictive, especially when we only need 4 charges to get our 4 set bonus. This is actually the earliest and fastest we've had charges accrue. In previous seasons, we either had to wait 6 weeks for the catalyst to even become available, or we only got 1 charge every 2 weeks. But with us getting a charge every week in Season 4, we'll be able to secure that 4 set bonus much faster than usual, which makes sense really. Season 4 should be about quick power-ups for a fun end of expansion last hurrah. So if you get tier gear from no other source, it should take you 4 weeks at the longest to get your 4 set bonus equipped using the Revival Catalyst. The other thing we're going to need is an appropriate piece of seasonal gear, and this is actually much easier than it sounds and much easier than we initially thought it was going to be. When the season first went live, you couldn't use any open world content rewards in the Catalyst, which meant that open world players had very few sources for Catalyst gear, and it was a massive step backwards in terms of tier set accessibility. But this seems to have been a bug. If you did your weekly quests and events later in the week, you can use all of that gear in the Catalyst. Here's my Hunter's gear rewards, and I got all of this towards the end of the week. All of the armor can be popped into the Catalyst. This includes gear from the Cache of Storms and from the weekly quest, so even solo players or open world content players have a lot of options for obtaining Catalyst gear in Season 4. Now sadly, any gear that you obtained before the fix went live still cannot be used in the Catalyst though, so if you did your weekly stuff early, you're kinda just out of luck. The good news is that your weekly rewards next week will count for the Catalyst. And then of course, any Mythic Plus dungeon gear, raid gear or rated PvP gear can be used in the Catalyst as well, so there are plenty of options for getting the gear you need to use the Catalyst. You just need to get lucky enough to get the right gear slot that you need. Now if you end up with a lot of charges and you're just not getting the gear slots that you need, there is one option I know of to get the exact piece of gear you want. The Dreamsurge vendors still offer a weekly quest even while that content is not awakened. The weekly quest to obtain 100 Dreamsurge Coalescence rewards you with yet another cache of 480 gear, so that's one more chance to get something you need, but it also rewards you with a special currency. You can trade this currency for a piece of gear of your choice, so if you really need shoulders, you can just pick up shoulders. If the last item you need is legs, you get the idea. The only problem with this gear is that it is quite a low item level. It starts at 467 on the Adventurer track, so it isn't really an ideal source of gear that you're going to want to use a Catalyst charge on. But as I said, if you have plenty of charges, maybe in a couple of weeks, and just can't seem to get the right pieces of gear from your random loot, this vendor does give you that gear choice control. There is another way to pick up a piece of tier gear with 0 RNG, the Season 4 Master Achievement. If you can clear an Awakened Raid on Heroic mode, get up to 2000 Mythic Plus score, or reach Challenger 2 in rated PvP, you'll get an achievement that rewards you with a token that you can trade in for a piece of tier gear, no questions asked. So there's no drop, no RNG, no time gate, and no specific gear slot required, just get one of those endgame milestones completed. You'll get the Awakened Mark of Mastery, which you can trade in for any tier piece you want at the Heroic Raid item level, so that's going to be a huge upgrade for a lot of different kinds of players. Personally, I still think the Mythic Plus achievement is the easiest one on that list. Some of the bosses can be very frustrating on Heroic if you don't have a guild, so if you are strictly relying on pugs, Mythic Plus is probably way easier than clearing the raid on Heroic. With the changes to the Mythic Plus keystone system, you only need to do a +5 or +6 keys, I believe, on both Tyrannical and Fortified. That should get you most of the way there. Saying that makes it sound pretty easy with it's just 5s and 6s, but remember that Mythic Plus keys are harder than they used to be, so it's still kind of like doing a +15 and +16 from the previous season. You don't have to get these achievements in the very first week for this token to be useful. It will remain useful until you get your full 4-set bonus, and even past that. If your tier set pieces are only from LFR or normal raid item level, this Mark of Mastery will always be worth a heroic item level piece of gear, so it might end up being a big upgrade a few weeks down the line. The next best source of tier gear is going to be the raid. No other endgame content directly drops tier tokens like raid bosses do, so if you can get some boss kills in on any difficulty, you will have a much higher chance of putting your 4-set together quickly. Obviously, the higher the difficulty you can clear, the better your resulting gear will be, but actually getting the set bonuses is probably more important for most folks, so even hopping into LFR and clearing through that is better than nothing. Which bosses you need to kill will depend on which raid you're going into, and only the Awakened Raid for that week will give you Season 4 tier gear, so as the weeks go by the Awakened Raid will change, but what's nice about Season 4 is that you don't have to wait for the later LFR wings to open up. Everything is available right from the get-go, so you have 5 chances in each raid to get a tier set piece for your class. The last boss will also drop Awakened Tempo Stones, which everyone can roll on, meaning you're competing with everyone at once, which isn't great in terms of your chances, but at least it is guaranteed to be useful for you if you do win. The Tempo Stones are an Omni token, so they can be traded for any piece of tier gear for any slot at the difficulty you killed the boss on. So if you go kill LFR Razzie, you'll have a chance to get an LFR tier piece of your choice, basically. That makes these tokens very useful and gives you yet another reason to clear through the raid on LFR every week. And then pretty much every reward row in the weekly vault has a chance to be a piece of tier set gear, so it doesn't matter if you fill up the vault by killing raid bosses, clearing through dungeons, or doing rated PvP. Every activity will have a chance to reward you with tier set gear in the vault. You can fill up the vault with something as easy as heroic dungeons in Season 4, so it's never been easier to get something useful from the vault. You should also keep an eye out for tier set gear slots from the vault, even if it's not actually the tier set gear itself. Any head, shoulder, chest, hands or leg pieces of gear from the vault can also be used in the catalyst, so keep that in mind when you're deciding which vault reward to pick up. Now, if you really want to min-max your 4-set acquisition, the real trick is to save your flexible options until you can complete your set all at once. It's better to save your Mark of Mastery or any Omni tokens or even your Catalyst charges until you have a few pieces of tier under your belt or enough charges and tokens to complete your 4-set. For example, if you use a Catalyst charge on a pair of legs as your first piece, but then go into the raid and a tier set piece of legs drops, well, you might have won those legs and used your charge on something else, so you have to wait even longer to complete your set bonuses. Because you get to choose which piece of gear you use your charge on or which piece of gear you trade your tokens in for, while other sources are totally random, you want to keep the controllable sources until the last piece of gear, or maybe the last 2 pieces of gear. When you have enough charges, tokens and actual tier pieces to complete your 4-set, that's when you want to spend your flexible options. If you get lucky in the raid and complete some of the harder content like getting a Season 4 Master Achievement, or maybe get something in the vault, you can actually get your 4-set within the first 2 weeks very easily. So as you can see, we have a lot of different ways you can get your hands on those 2 and 4-set bonuses to really power up your character for the rest of the expansion, even if you don't want to jump into raids or endgame dungeons. The more content you do, the faster you will get your 4-set bonus, especially if you raid, but with the Catalyst giving us a charge every week, it shouldn't take longer than 4 weeks for anyone to complete their 4-set for Season 4. But that's all the options for how to complete your 4-set tier bonus as quickly as possible, so that's it for this video. How many pieces of tier set do you have currently, and how long do you think it will take you to get your 4-set bonus? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you'd like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description over to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching, folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.